feel the pressure? The weight that presses down on your chest, making every breath feel just a little too shallow? Do you feel like you're constantly juggling, striving, and trying to meet an impossible standard that the world has set for you? Yet every step you take feels like you're falling further behind. The world tells us that perfection is the key to everything. To happiness, to success, to acceptance. Perfection is the prize we're all supposed to be chasing, isn't it? But what happens when you spend your life in pursuit of something that doesn't even exist? What happens when you spend every waking hour crafting an image, a life, a self that is flawless, only to realize that in the process, you've lost yourself? This is the story of so many of us. We've been sold the idea that perfection is attainable, and the more we believe that, the more we disconnect from what truly matters. But I want you to stop for a moment, just for a second, and really ask yourself, what if perfection isn't the answer? What if it's the very thing keeping you from being truly happy, truly healthy, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually? You see, perfectionism isn't just a trait. It's a trap that's built into the very fabric of our lives. We're told that success is about getting things right all the time, about making no mistakes, about showing the world a polished version of ourselves. But here's the cold reality. Perfectionism is killing your emotional health. Let's pause for a moment and reflect on your own life. How many times have you pushed yourself to the edge? Physically, emotionally, mentally, all in the name of perfection. How many hours have you spent trying to shape yourself into someone who fits a mold that was never meant for you? How many dreams have you abandoned or ignored because you thought they weren't perfect enough? Perfectionism is not a badge of honor. It's not a sign of discipline or strength. It's a mask we wear, one that hides our true selves. It tells us that we're not enough, not as we are, but only if we can be flawless, if we can meet every expectation set by society, by our families, by our peers, by ourselves. But here's the thing that nobody ever tells you about perfectionism. It's not real. Perfection is a lie. It doesn't exist. It's a mental construct that you've been conditioned to believe is the ultimate goal. But why? Why are we so obsessed with it? Why do we place so much value on something so unattainable? The answer is simple. We've been taught to equate perfection with worth. We believe that if we can perfect every detail of our lives, we will finally be worthy of love, success, and acceptance. But the problem with this belief is that it makes us forget one simple truth. We are worthy already. The pressure to be perfect is not just a personal struggle. It's a societal one. We live in a world that constantly measures, compares, and judges. Every day, we are exposed to images of success, of beauty, of perfection in every corner of our lives. On social media, in movies, in magazines, at work, in our relationships, everywhere we turn, there's this underlying message that if you're not perfect, you're somehow failing. But here's the paradox. Perfection doesn't bring happiness. In fact, it brings anxiety, stress, and a sense of never being good enough. The more you chase after it, the further it slips away. And the more you strive for perfection, the more you disconnect from your emotional health. Let me ask you something. How many times have you felt anxious because you were trying to meet an impossible standard? How many times have you felt exhausted, overwhelmed, or even depressed because you were too busy trying to control every aspect of your life to make it perfect? Have you ever wondered why, even after achieving everything you thought would make you happy, you still feel this empty, gnawing sense of something missing? That emptiness, that's the price we pay for chasing perfection. We give up our emotional health, our inner peace, in exchange for a facade of success, a life lived for others' approval, and a constant unrelenting pressure to do more, be more, and never fail. And all the while, we ignore the one thing that actually brings fulfillment, emotional well-being. Now, imagine this. What if, instead of striving for perfection, you started focusing on emotional health? What if you decided that the most important thing in your life wasn't achieving perfection, but cultivating peace, balance, and authenticity? What if you accepted yourself fully, flaws and all, and allowed yourself to experience life without constantly measuring it against an impossible standard? Imagine the relief, the freedom, the release of pressure. You wouldn't be chained to a never-ending cycle of better, faster, more. Instead, you'd be free to explore, to grow, to make mistakes, to learn. And in that freedom, your emotional health would flourish. You'd discover that happiness isn't about having everything perfect. It's about accepting yourself, embracing your imperfections, and learning to thrive despite the chaos and unpredictability of life. This doesn't mean you stop trying to improve or reach for your goals. It doesn't mean you let go of ambition or give up on growth. What it means is that you stop tying your self-worth to your performance. You stop allowing your emotions to be dictated by your successes or failures. You stop letting perfectionism control your life and your emotions. Now, I want you to take a moment to reflect. How much of your life have you spent trying to please others? How much of your energy have you invested in crafting an image of yourself that isn't even true to who you are? How many moments have you missed because you were too focused on perfection to enjoy the journey? Here's the harsh truth. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are constantly running on empty, constantly striving for perfection, you will never find the emotional fulfillment you seek. Perfection will always be just out of reach. But emotional health, that's within your grasp. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be real. You need to embrace your true self, flaws and all, and make peace with who you are in this moment. That's where true happiness lies, in accepting yourself fully, in finding peace within, and in letting go of the false narrative that perfection equals success. So, I'll leave you with this. What would happen if you started living for your emotional health instead of for perfection? What if you chose to focus on nurturing your heart, your mind, and your soul instead of constantly chasing an illusion? Because here's the truth, the one that nobody talks about. Perfection is overrated. Emotional health? That's everything. In the first part of this journey, we explored the enormous toll that chasing perfection takes on our emotional well-being. The pressure to be flawless in a world that demands nothing short of greatness can feel suffocating. But now, let's take a deeper dive. Let's look at how releasing the need for perfection can actually heal and transform your life in ways you never thought possible. It's easy to forget that emotional health isn't something we can simply achieve in the same way we might attain a goal or finish a task. Emotional health isn't a destination. It's a state of being, one that's nurtured through mindfulness, compassion, and understanding. And yet perfectionism robs us of this nurturing process. It forces us to run on autopilot, always striving, always moving, but never truly living. I want to take you back to a question I asked earlier. What would happen if you gave yourself permission to not be perfect? What would it feel like to wake up in the morning and not feel the weight of expectation pressing down on you? What if, instead of starting your day with a mental checklist of tasks you must complete perfectly, you started your day with the freedom to just be? What if you didn't feel the need to prove yourself? What if you gave yourself the gift of grace, the grace to be flawed, the grace to be real? In the world we live in, it's easy to forget that we are human beings first. The constant pursuit of perfection turns us into machines, always calculating, always adjusting, and never allowing ourselves the simple luxury of being imperfectly human. But I want to remind you of something crucial. It's okay to be imperfect. It's not just okay, it's necessary. If perfectionism is a cage, then authenticity is the key. When we embrace authenticity, we unlock the ability to experience life as it truly is, with all of its ups and downs, its messiness and beauty. We stop holding ourselves to impossible standards, and instead, we start living in a way that is aligned with our emotional truth. Have you ever noticed that the most fulfilling moments in life are often the ones where things aren't perfect? The times when you laughed so hard you cried, the moments of vulnerability where you shared your true self with someone else, the experiences where things didn't go as planned, but they turned out to be exactly what you needed. Those moments, full of imperfection and unpredictability, are the ones that remind us of our humanity, that remind us we don't need to have everything figured out to feel alive. The pursuit of perfection not only steals these moments from us, it also robs us of connection. When we are busy trying to be flawless, we hide our true selves behind a wall of masks and facades. We show the world a curated version of ourselves, carefully crafted to fit into what others expect of us. But in doing so, we lose the opportunity to connect with others on a deep, authentic level. True connection comes from vulnerability. It comes from showing up as you are, imperfect and raw. And this is where emotional health starts to flourish. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we stop pretending to be something we're not. We stop hiding behind the pressure of perfection, and we start embracing the beauty of our imperfections. And this, my friend, is where true healing begins. Think about a time when you were deeply connected with someone. Maybe it was a friend, a partner, or a family member. What made that connection so meaningful? Was it because everything was perfect? Or was it because you were both able to be yourselves, to laugh, to cry, to share your deepest fears and desires without judgment? I would wager that it was the latter. The most meaningful relationships are built on trust and authenticity, not perfection. The same principle applies to the relationship we have with ourselves. If we constantly chase perfection, we're essentially telling ourselves that we're not enough as we are. We're telling ourselves that the version of us today isn't worthy of love, of care, of attention. But the truth is, the version of you right now, flaws and all, is enough. You are enough. And here's the kicker. You will never reach perfection. It doesn't matter how many goals you set or how much you try to control your life. The moment you think you've achieved it, you'll set another goal, you'll strive for something else. And in the process, you'll miss the very point of life, experiencing it fully in the moment. Perfectionism robs us of presence. It traps us in a cycle of constantly looking forward to the next achievement, the next perfect moment, the next milestone. But what if the perfect moment isn't something that needs to be chased? What if the perfect moment is already here, in the present, just waiting for us to recognize it? When you stop chasing perfection, you open the door to true presence. You become more attuned to the world around you, the people, the experiences, the small, beautiful moments that make life worth living. You start to notice the little things, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the sound of laughter in the air, the way your heart beats when you feel truly alive. These are the moments that fill our emotional well-being, the ones that perfectionism has blinded us to. So, why does emotional health matter more than perfection? Because emotional health is about feeling. It's about being present with yourself and the world around you. It's about accepting that life is messy and imperfect, and that's okay. It's about not waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect version of yourself. It's about showing up as you are, with all of your imperfections, and saying, "This is enough." Here's the hard truth. The pursuit of perfection doesn't lead to happiness. It doesn't lead to fulfillment. It leads to exhaustion, anxiety, and an endless loop of striving for something that's out of reach. And when we live in this state of constant striving, we miss out on the most important thing of all, living. But here's the good news. You don't have to keep running. You don't have to keep striving for perfection. The key to true happiness, true emotional health, is not in achieving a flawless life, but in embracing the messiness of it. It's in being kind to yourself, giving yourself the grace to fail, to learn, and to grow. And guess what? When you stop chasing perfection, your life becomes richer, more meaningful, and more fulfilling. You become free to be yourself. You become free to experience life as it truly is without the constant pressure to measure up. Your emotional health is the foundation of everything else in your life. When you prioritize your emotional well-being, everything else falls into place. Your relationships improve because you're no longer hiding behind a mask. Your work becomes more meaningful because you're focused on growth, not perfection. Your inner peace grows because you stop worrying about being perfect and start embracing the beauty of imperfection. Some stories stay with us, reshaping the way we see the world. If this one left a mark, imagine what the next one might do. Stay curious, stay open, and we'll meet again where ideas come to life.